Okay guys, so for today's project, what we're going to do is make a necklace, and we're going to make some beads for a necklace using maybe some magazine cutouts. I've got some other just construction paper, red, just different kinds of pattern paper if you have it. Really, you can just use any type of paper to make this work. If you don't have any paper, just white paper. Color some of the white paper first, put some designs on it, make it crazy. And then we can use it to cut it up and make it into our necklace. So you'll need some glue, you'll need some scissors, a pencil, some paper we can cut up, and a piece of string. That's kind of what you'll need today for our lesson. Okay, so for the first part of our project, what we want to do is take some papers. Like I said, you can use any type of paper really. I've used some magazine cutouts, newspaper cutouts, any paper you can get really. And I'm going to take these, fold them up, and cut them up. So first step, what I'm going to do is take this paper and I'm going to fold it in half long ways. So I'm going to take these two corners, line those up, line up the long edge here, and I'm going to fold it in half, then I'm going to cut it in half. Alright, so like this. And I'm just going to start making strips of paper that we can use for our beads. Alright, so that's cut in half. Now what I'm going to do is fold this paper in half. Okay, once, and I'm going to cut these. Okay, and then I'm going to keep folding this. Alright, and then I'm going to fold this again. Okay, and so you want to keep folding and cutting until you get a strip about this big. Alright, once you get a strip about this big, then you can start and make the beads. You want to do this folding and cutting into strips for all of your papers. So I want to make a bunch of strips that I can use. Alright, so here's everything we need to make our beads. We've got our strips cut out. I've just got a few of them here. I've got my glue, I've got my pencil. So you need the pencil and you need the strips. Now my strips have two different sides. You can figure out which side you want. If you want to see this side, then I'm going to put this side facing up, the other side facing up. I'm going to take my pencil, I'm going to put it at the top of my paper. I'm going to roll and keep it really tight along there. So this bottom edge here, this paper bottom edge has to tuck underneath on that paper, and then you just roll it up. Okay, and when you get to the very end, you need a dot of glue. Now, you don't need a ton of glue. If you put too much glue, I'm going to spread it around with my finger. If you put too much glue, it won't dry, and then if you'll be holding it, you'll have to hold it forever. So now I've rolled it down to the very end. I'm going to hold it here, okay? And I need to hold it here for just a moment, right on the end. So I want you to count to 60 seconds in your head, and then when you're done, it should be glued down. If you take the pencil and it is not glued down, then just roll it back and hold it until it's completely dry. Okay, so you can see that I've got a pile of beads that I've created here. I'm going to use some of these, maybe not all of them, but some of them. And I'm still holding down my last one. I did find that you could take a little piece of tape, if you have it, to help speed up the process of gluing it together. It's kind of glued together, but I can put a little piece of tape right at the edge and just roll it around. If you have tape, you don't need it, that was already dry. And then when you're done, you just slide them off the end like this. So now that I have a pile of my beads, I'm going to arrange them and to create some type of pattern. I might not use all my beads. And once I get my pattern, then I'm going to run my string through and I'll show you. Okay, so here's my pattern that I've created. Now what I need to do is start putting these beads on and putting the string going through there so we can make our necklace. That can be a little tricky depending on the string that you have. Mine is pretty flimsy and floppy. So I've got a toothpick here, and I'm just going to kind of wrap it around the string around the toothpick real tight, And then I'll use a little piece of tape if you have it to hold it. You don't have to do this, it just makes it maybe a little bit easier to get it on there. If you don't have it, it'll work either way. But basically you want to start on one of these ends and string it the whole way through. So you want to push it through and slide it on. And then you just keep going. And eventually these are going to have to slide down, maybe not the whole way to the other end, but just slide them down a little bit to get them out of the way. So just like this, until you get them all strung on. Keep going in order. Alright, so we're all done with stringing these on. I have created my pattern. This is a pretty complex pattern. It's not really like an A-B pattern because it does kind of change. So I want you to try to create maybe a more complex pattern. You know, it doesn't really matter how you do it, you just kind of play around with the different looks. When you're all done, I'm going to, if you did tape it down, you can cut it off here. And then I'm going to make sure my strings are about the same length here. Also, this needs to be long enough to go over my neck, which it is. And then I'm going to tie these two together, which can be a little bit tricky. There's a few different knots you could do. You can cross it over like you would be if you're tying your shoes, and then do it again if you want. That's one version. You could tie that on like that. So just double it down, and then tie, and then pull tight, and it'll come tight like that. If you need help tying a knot, just ask an adult if you have someone nearby, or if you have to wait a little bit till they get home. Okay, so that's basically what we are doing, making our beaded necklace and creating an interesting pattern. Alright, if you guys don't have all the stuff that I have, if you have tape, tape will work. If you have glue, glue will work. You just have to hold it a little bit longer. If you have both, that works the best. So just try to have fun, create something cool. Let's see what your necklaces look like.